Welcome everybody to the Mind, Body, and Soul TV show, coming to you live from our Denver Internet Television studios. I'm your host, Coach Steve Toth, and also the founder of Conscious Revolution Media, going on 10 plus years, 15,000 plus shows, no longer counting. I want to introduce our guest for this evening, which is a very interesting guest we have for you this evening. Her name is Cindy Miller. And she is an inspirational author and an intuitive poet. And our theme for this evening is that all there is, the journey within? Welcome to the show, Cindy.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be part of the show tonight.
Awesome. Well, we're very excited to have you as well, because the theme is actually something that's been woven into our network from the very beginning, because what we are attempting to do for everyone is to drive them home, and for me, home is in here. So tell us a little bit about, before you actually tell us a little about you, if I take away the title Inspirational Author, Intuitive Poet, and any other title anyone has ever called you in your life, what's left? Who is really Cindy Miller?
That's a good question. I usually don't even like going by titles. When people say, what's your title? What do you do? I'm a country girl. I love to dance. I love to sing. I love to garden. I love to live life. And to me, time is the most important thing, to just live your life to the fullest for the time that we have here.
Awesome. So let's get related to our viewers a little bit. Just tell us the shorter version of your story. How did you get to do what you do, and what happened to you on this journey?
A lot of things have happened to me on the journey, as I'm sure has happened to a lot of other people out there listening. But if you knew me, I really was an illusion. I wasn't really happy, even though it looked like I might have been happy and that I had it all and lived in a big house and had a relationship, marriage, and whatnot. But I was really not at all happy here, and I was really looking for the deeper meaning to my life. And what happened to me was I came from a very crazy household, and my father was an alcoholic. He's no longer living, and we had not spoken to each other for a very long time. And then one day I got the phone call that my father had passed, and I was really taken by surprise, and I was upset by the news. And when I was in my room that evening, and I was crying, but not like hysterical or anything, and I was, speaking out loud to my dad about, Dad, I don't know why this ever had to happen, and stuff like that. I had a visitation, and Spirit came through to me at that very moment in my life, and it scared the heck out of me when that happened. I'm like, what? What's going on? And at that moment, I knew that there was more to life, that we did not cease to exist upon our passing. And it really took me on a journey to search for the deeper meaning to life. Like, what is life? What is life all about? And I didn't have to prove it to anybody, because I just knew what I saw. I knew what I felt. I knew what the connection was at that moment. And I just became such a seeker of wisdom, of knowledge, of just wanting to know more about, who we are and why we're here and what's my purpose. And that's how it kind of unfolded for me through that passing. So it was a really gift that my dad exited when he did. I'm very grateful for that.
Interesting. And did you have a chance to complete with your dad, even that he's not alive?
No, I never saw my dad, but we did complete when he crossed over to the other side, as far as having a conversation with him. And I've had some really powerful supernatural encounters all along the way of how he came to me and what happened, and amazing stories. So I feel we never lose our connection to our loved ones or to anyone, even if we didn't know them, that we're energetic beings, and we are able to connect with energy at all times.
Absolutely. So I love this this title. Your title of your book is that all there is, the journey within, and I feel that the first half of that title is that all there is like I would call it a pinnacle question. It's like most people, I would say, right before they become awake and conscious, they've been asking that question: how do you feel about that?
About the question, is that all there is?
Uh-huh.
I feel that it is so much up to us to do our inner work and get to know who the heck we are, what makes us float, what makes us get angry, to really go within our own hearts and our own spirit to understand ourselves. And I believe that once we really get to know who we are, why we're here, work on ourselves, and I say we're all, works in progress, life unfolds so differently for each of us. And I know, just speaking from my own experience, I think it's really important for us to change on the inside in order for the outside to look different in the world. So we just view things from such a different perspective.
Yeah. So I'm also curious, what's the distinction between an author and an inspirational author and a poet and an intuitive poet?
That's a good question. Well, for me, when I say I'm an inspirational author, I feel my work is divinely inspired. I feel the book that was given to me to write, and for me, the book was given to me by God to write, is who I say is my source, was a co-creative effort. It was divinely guided. It was given to me. It just flowed through me. And so I use the word divinely inspired and inspirational because of the divinity I feel that we have in life, no matter what religion we are.
Very interesting. I love that word also, divinity. Uh, can we talk about that a little more? Help us understand a little bit more about the energy of divinity.
The energy of divinity?
Mm-hmm.
Well, to me, I think everything here is sacred. We're visitors here on the planet. And, sometimes we don't behave the best that we should. And we're here to learn lessons and to love one another and to be respectful and to be humble and to always be open to be learning and have our hearts open. And I think there's just divinity in everything. There's divinity in a glass of water, in a day, in a butterfly, in a rainfall. And I think when we realize we're just visitors here and we're given a certain amount of time and none of us really know our exit points. And I think that when we look at life through those lenses, life feels different, unfolds different, and I think we just calm down and it puts everything into a very different perspective for us on a daily basis, living our life with all the things that happen to us, in the course of a 24-hour period.
Very interesting. So what about an intuitive poet? What's the difference between that and just a poet?
Okay, well, I say for me, an intuitive poet is when I write poetry, it happens to be very deep, heart-wrenching, feeling poems that come to me. I've written poems on suicide. I've written poems on the birth of a baby. I've written poems on the New York State Empire gunman. I've written poems on world events. I've written poems on Whitney Houston's passing. It were things that just really grabbed my heart. And I'm like, what could I write to either bring comfort or to bring a message or to bring a different understanding to this situation, to this circumstance? And I would just, meditate, not just it just comes to me very quickly, very easily. And I just have these words spoken to me and I just write the poem. And the poems are really beautiful. Some people say some of my best work is my poetry. And I love to write the poems and then give them to someone and hope that it touches their heart in a very good way. And, I've had people say to me, thank you, that really helped with my brother, who killed himself, or thank you, that so helped me with my dad who, crossed over. And it brings comfort and joy to people, I think, the poetry, because it is not my poems, I say. It's, again, a co-creative effort.
Got it. Would you be willing to share one with us?
I didn't bring any of my poems with me, so I can't do that at this time,
Okay.
but they are on my website, and I
Okay.
have posted them.
Okay, great. Yeah,
And they don't have
let's
to
just tell people how to get to your website, because at this point that they probably are interested, and maybe they can go
Sure.
there after the show.
Sure. To go to my website, it's Sacred Grounds, and it's the word sacred and the word grounds, like coffee grounds, but it ends with a dot, B like boy, Z like zebra. And if they go to the website, they can just click a button there, and it says, the poetry, and they can pick the different topics and subject matters and see which one they feel drawn towards. And they're welcome to download it and print it out, and they're really beautiful poems.
Awesome. So besides the writing books and writing poems, what else do you do in terms of being on this planet? Like, what is your passion? Do you have additional passions? How do you spend the day? How do you help others?
That's a great question. I am passionate about so many things, and I have to learn the very powerful word, big word, 2 letters, no, no. But I really look at, how I choose to spend my time and what I'm going to spend my time doing. It has to have meaning and purpose and something that I really like doing for me, because I feel time is so precious while we're here. We just have a certain chunk of it. So I want to make the best of the time that I've been given. And I love to hike. I love to garden. I love to sing. I love to dance. I love to study things. I study things all the time. I'm always looking at something on a spiritual level. I look at so many other people's teachings and say, what is their teaching and what is that about? It's very important to me to be very connected on a very spiritual level. That's what gives my life such a different meaning and perspective. I do intuitive counseling. I've led a journey group for over 12 years. We meet monthly, and it's a group that comes together and they're just exploring either how to develop their gifts as healers, or how to have more stronger intuition, or just very metaphysical, spiritual topics and discussions. And I really enjoy leading that group, and I get so much out of it, as well as the people who attend. It's like every month I walk away going, wow, that was really very empowering, and it was very inspirational. I started a nonprofit for Mind, Body, Spirit about 12 years ago. I felt led to do that. I've done work in the community. I'm very much about community and bringing people together and making people feel like they're not alone. I think it's really important for people to feel I'm not alone, because I think people are very isolated sometimes and can feel very lonely, and I don't like that happening.
Interesting. So tell me a little bit about in terms of consciousness and helping people to become awake. Where do you see our planet right now in terms of what's going on externally in our lives, and how are we doing?
Oh, and we're not the judge, but I will say, I think this is a really...
I'm just asking a question.
Yeah, I think this is a really good time, with when the economy had this big major downfall that we did. I think this is a good time to reinvent ourselves and to really go within and to go for your dreams that you hold in your heart, and to do things. Not all of our jobs are based on money. People get so locked into this, they can't lose this benefit, they can't give up this, they can't give up that. And, a lot of times the universe just takes care of us. I mean, we live in an abundant environment, and I think we are the ones that are as understanding of our environment and all that is given to us. I mean, I'm glad we're doing now like electric cars, and we're looking more at Think Green and that kind of stuff. But it just, I think people, I think people are getting too much into technology almost too. Everywhere you go, everyone's on a smartphone, and it's like, what happened to human contact and conversations? It's I don't know. I think we're living in a very interesting time, in a very good time, and we have so many choices. But I think we have to also look to connect more within our spirit, within our hearts, and slow down, and just take a time out.
Great. How do you feel generally, people? How do they get an opportunity to actually stand maybe besides themselves in terms of what they've been up to up till this point, and how do they get to see that there are alternatives and there are choices? What does that take in general for humanity?
Well, I think, we are in our lives, we have so many different things that happen to us. And I think it's how we view what happens to us. And do we look to the positive or to the negative, as energetic beings? Like we go, what was I supposed to learn here? Or what do I need to unlearn? And how do I handle this? And how do I process this? And how should I look at this? And I think when we look at, I think power of thought is so, so important. I mean, I think our thoughts help create things and bring things into our lives and into our worlds. And it's like, where are we putting our focus and why are we putting our focus there? And what are we focusing upon anyway? I mean, I believe we leave energetic imprints. I mean, even today, this conversation that we're having will leave a certain amount of energy that's going to radiate out there to people who are listening. And
Yeah.
I think, the power of the spoken word and just how we view and treat each other is just enormous.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this broadcast right now is going into the ether, and some people will be able to pick it up with their antennas, and some people won't. But it's still out there.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't think it's our job to convince anybody to do anything. I think when people see, this is really what I feel. If we all work on ourselves and keep the focus on ourselves, and we are the best that we can be, and compassionate and humble and helpful and kind, and I think if everybody just did that, the world would be so different. If we just kept our hearts open and we're generous and thoughtful, and we don't have to change anybody. We have to do the change within ourselves, and that's why the book, The Journey Within, to me, that's part of the purpose of that book, is that we are a full-time project. There's things we think we've mastered, and then we go, oh, I haven't mastered. I got to learn that again. And then things that we've learned and we've really mastered them, saying, I've got that one down good. And I think by us just focusing on our own behavior, our own thoughts, our own actions, our own activities, we can change the world tremendously, because we've got, if every individual did that, wow, what a different world we'd be living in.
Well, yeah, that's very interesting. So I'd like to kind of take that a little bit deeper. So what I'm hearing you say is that, and I'm going to go out on the limb here and say, the world is the way it is,
Mm-hmm.
and the way we see the world and the way we experience the world is different for everyone.
Right.
And where that comes from, where that different view, the 7 billion different view that comes, it comes from our own experiences and our own stories and our own conversations within our head. So if we change the conversation, I think this is where you were getting to. If we change the conversation in our head, change our mindset, change our beliefs, if we work on ourselves internally, the world changes. But it's really not the world that changed. We changed.
Exactly. Exactly. It's so important for us to go within our own spirit, within our own heart, with that chatter that's in our mind, and go, where is that coming from? And is it a positive? Is it a negative? Is the negative, can it be turned into a positive? What's the bright side of any situation? And I think it's really important that the wounds that we receive, we've all been wounded in our own ways. Maybe from a childhood, maybe from an abusive relationship, maybe from a parent, maybe from a worker, is to not let our heart shut down. Is like to learn from that and to forgive that and to move on, so that you don't live your life angry and bitter and just go, you don't know what I've been through and you don't know what happened, and we don't know what anybody's been through. It's very interesting. I always look at people and go, you don't know what that person's endured. And so many people who have endured unbelievable situations are just living the most fabulous lives. And it's getting past that shift of thought and that energy. And we are all here to be healed. I don't feel there isn't anybody on this planet that does not need some type of healing in some fashion or in some format. So I think it's really, really important for us to recognize that each person has their own set of stuff that they bring to the table, And it's just how do we, what do we do with that stuff that we've brought to the table?
Gotcha. So would you also say that that when people, if people had an opportunity to kind of recognize what's the conversation in their head, and also connect it to whatever the conversation is what they're attracting to themselves? Do you think that's possible?
Well, I think if they realized how powerful the power of the spoken word is, and how our thoughts and words help create things, and if they just test it out and go, you know what, I'm going to call her bluff, and I'm going to do that for the next 30 days and see how my life changes, or just be aware of what happens through that. It's just like it's the magic little things that happen in the day, from of what you're saying, and then how it unfolds. My friend John was just saying, he was been working in New York City. He's like, I don't want to go to the city tomorrow. I really want a day off, and she wants me to come in, and I don't really want to come in, and blah blah blah. And then he gets this phone call, and it's his client saying, you know what? You think we could reschedule tomorrow for Monday? And it would just be so much better for me. And he's like, oh, this is great. And I go, see, John, the power of thought. You really wanted to delay that, and it got delayed. And look at that, and isn't that great? And he's like, yeah, that's wonderful. So when you start to make these little connections in your daily life, you just realize, like, wow, a lot of our thoughts just unfold what we think about, or what we say, or what we're seeking, or what we're looking for. How all of a sudden, magically on our path, they're there, and you go, wow, where did that come from? So I think when we make that connection of how did that come across my path, it's very important, and I think you'll start realizing that that's true.
Are you really saying then, Cindy, that we're powerful enough human beings that we can manifest whatever it is that we are thinking and believing strongly?
Absolutely. I feel we are so powerful and so empowered, and I think some of us are so clueless to the gifts that we've been given on a daily basis for our own healing. I mean, I'm very holistic, and I'm very, like, going to the doctor's the last resort for me. I mean, and I'm not saying people don't go to the doctor there, but I think we've been given so many things on this planet, environment to use. We've been given herbs that can be used medicinally instead of pharmaceuticals. We've been given energy. I mean, there's Reiki, and there's pressure points that all of a sudden, just magically by doing this Reiki or a trigger point, that this pain is released in our body. And there's so many different things that we can do to ourselves and to do for others that I think we sometimes aren't taught to use these gifts, or we shrug off these gifts, or we say, I don't know, is that really like spirit talking to me? Is that true? And I think sometimes we don't have the confidence to tap into source and use source for the attention of the highest and best good, because I feel that's what life should be, to the highest and best.
Yeah, I agree. So how could we help some people that that are so closed, like as closed as being cynical and completely resigned? Can we help those people, or they just have to help themselves?
Well, it's funny because I'm happen to be very God-based, and I'm not an evangelist or anything like that, and I don't like to preach or anything. People, I think, want what you have once they see you and know you. And people have said, geez, you seem so happy, or you're very at peace, or you're very free, or, and it's like, how do you get that? And I'm like, well, life has taught me, and spirit has taught me. And it's, I can't change anybody. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm not here to change you, but I am here to share what I can as far as my journey and my experience and what's happened to me to switch and change me within my own heart. I mean, I had to go through some pretty hard lessons to have my heart, be opened. I lost my dad. My dad passed. I had a marriage that dissolved after many years. I've survived medical conditions. And all of that stuff has taught me and shaped me and molded me into who I am now. Now, I could have leaned one way or leaned to the other way, but I got to the point in my journey where, like, hey, I'm going to know more here. And, I think when you seek and you get to that breaking point, so much happens. Sometimes it's really good for us to have a big explosion in our life and a big falling down part, because that's how we can get up and pick ourselves up and get to learn who we are. And it's one of the reasons, I bring up the book again, this book that came to me, was for really to help people to get to know what makes me happy. I mean, I feel like so many people are so clueless about their own identities. They don't know how to be happy, or they feel there's something missing, or there must be something more, and they don't know how to transition through those emotions that they're holding. And life is much too short for us to be stuck and in hold and not happy and not going through our healing journey.
Would you say that everybody is already complete and whole? We just said it to ourselves that we weren't, and then we go off on this journey of proving it that we're not whole and complete.
Well, I think everybody is complete and whole, and that's how we should view everyone. I think the minute we think that they're not, it's like shame on us that we're doing that, because people have come in perfectly made in many respects, and it's our vision of what is perfection in actuality in any of us.
I am in front of it. So my curiosity is getting the best of me. I gotta know what's behind you on that painting. What's falling from the sky?
What's falling from the sky? There's some birds flying, and I happen to be over my good friend's home for the internet connection to do this show tonight. Thank goodness. And he happens to have that beautiful painting, and I love the water coming in. The waves.
So those are birds. Those are actually birds.
Actual birds.
Those are huge.
They're huge. They're great, and I love the ocean coming in, and it's got good feng shui. That wave is coming at us, so it's good feng shui.
Yeah, great. All right, so I am a little bit more curious about the book. Is that all there is? The Journey Within. Tell us a little more about what basically created this need and this want, this passion of yours that you wanted to share this book with everybody, and what is it that you feel that you wanted people to get if they read it?
Okay.
What's the gift?
The book, what I feel is so important about this book is it encompasses every area of your life, from how you dress, what you eat, what you've read, what you taught, what you know. It just it encompasses everything. And what I want people to get out of this book, I want them to get to really know who they are, how to develop their intuitive self, how to feel more at peace, how to bring more joy into their life, how to feel more satisfied. I mean, the book is loaded with conversations that I've had with for me, it's God, of things that I struggled with that I couldn't understand, and the answers that I got back, which are real life stuff that I was like, why this, why that? I want to know this, because that's the kind of girl I am. I want to know why. I'm curious. Why this? And there's tools in there. There's just so much insight that I've learned across the way, and I really want people to feel. I want them to fall in love with who they are, that they're just wonderful, and that they're just to really like who they are and to like the life that they're living, that they've got a wonderful life, and to enjoy the time they're here, and to also to go after the dreams that they hold in their heart. So often they get squelched, or someone says, that'll never happen, or you shouldn't do that, or there's no money in that. And it's like, get over that. Go for what, because often what we hold in our heart is what we're supposed to be doing anyway. And so many times, I've sat with somebody and, I've talked to them about, well, I hear this for your life, or I've heard this for your life when I get a message. And they'll go, I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to do that. I said, so why aren't you doing it? Do it. It's something that's been put in you. Go use that gift. Go do that. And let everything fall into place. So the purpose of the book is really to do your inner work, yet listen to the story. There's a story of my life in there. and to see the before and after, and just to see how you can make wonderful transformations, and to just, aspire, but to be very content with where you are and who you are, and know who you are. And I think a lot of us just don't know ourselves anymore. We have no clue about ourselves.
Yeah,
So I'm very excited about the book.
Yeah, I have to second that. So would you say, I mean, what I'm noticing is what's ruling the world is what I call confusion, manipulation, fear, and force.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just wondering that the reason why that's ruling the world is because of what you said, and that is people don't know who they are. And when people don't know who they are, they don't have a compass.
Right.
It's like they really pretty much, I would say, lost, and they'll go for anything that's presented to them. How accurate do you feel that is?
I think that is so true. I think, and I don't mean to judge, is that I think people, I have so many people like, I can't give up that job, and I need that paycheck, and I'm not saying, of course, you need to have money to live and thrive in life, but very often there's other career choices or other things that you could be doing that would be so rewarding, and you'll financially be okay, because you're supposed to be doing what you love and what you're good at, and you could be good at, I mean, it's so many different things for so many different people, and I think people get very cynical with time, or, a lot of them were groomed and prepped too. I didn't start off being a writer and doing intuitive work. I mean, I used to do real estate brokerage work and corporate and remodeling and building, and that was like part of the things I did on my journey along the way. But now I will tell you that any work that I do, I have to love what I'm doing. I didn't always used to think like that.
Yeah,
was,
it's no longer acceptable, correct, Cindy?
Right.
To do
It's
anything other than what's resonating with who you are.
Correct. And I think when people, I love what you just said, and I think when people get to that level, just going, it is just no, I cannot do it, that's when so much comes across your path, because you're saying no to that, and it's not out of arrogance, it's just, it doesn't resonate with what you're about, with what your spirit is, with where your heart is, what your heart's feeling, what you're sensing, and that's what we're really supposed to be doing, is getting lined up with all of that.
Yeah, I agree. So I feel, and I'd like to get your feedback. So I feel that when what's ruling us is confusion, manipulation, fear, and force, the only way that can rule us is if we're disconnected. Disconnected from what?
Well, I think disconnected from ourselves and disconnected from source, whoever source is for you, of whatever your understanding is in the bigger picture of life. And I think when we're confused, we need to slow down, and we need to go within and understand what's creating all this confusion. And I think we can be way too busy all the time. And I think we need to sometimes step out into nature, go on a hike. I mean, quiet ourselves and go, what's behind all of this? And manipulation is like, why am I being forced into do anything? I mean, we shouldn't be forced into doing anything. I mean, we have the powerful word no, we have the powerful word yes. And when we're being manipulated, are we allowing ourselves to be manipulated? Because sometimes I think people like to be victims. I hate to say that, but I think they do. There's just a wound there that they just cannot see another side to life.
Yeah, somehow it serves them.
Right.
And they'll choose it because it serves whatever the story is that they sold to themselves, hook, line, and sinker. It's proof that they are right. So isn't that also interesting that what seems to be important in this way of being disconnected is that we have to be right. And love doesn't come into the picture because if we allow love to rule, none of this stuff, we would be then connected. You cannot be in the energy of love being disconnected.
That is very true. Because when you are in the energy of love, you are so connected. It's just like this special vortex of energy. It's like, I don't want to leave this space. It feels so good. I don't want to get out. And that's really the state of consciousness that we're supposed to stay in all the time, every day, every minute, just being that state of just appreciation and love and gratitude and calmness. And I'm not saying that that's easy, but I'm saying being aware and striving for that on a consistent basis would make your life and you turn so much differently.
No, it can be. It can be easy. I want to respectfully um, disagree with you because it's getting
Okay.
easy. It's getting easier and easier for me. There are less and less things upset me, and
Yeah.
I smile and laugh more and more. It's like it's almost like sometimes I do this. Is like I'm pretending that I am an alien from some other planet, and I'm just looking at and experiencing what are these beings doing. It's very funny, It's like everybody's running around, everybody's buying things. It's a very different way of looking at human beings. It's like, oh my God, and if I put myself into this way of being of an alien, it's not making sense to me. It's like it's like completely short circuits me as an alien because I don't understand what these beings are doing. Everybody's running around doing.
That, I love that. I think it was Wayne Dyer who said, and I had heard this a while ago, about treat each day as if you were an extraterrestrial here visiting the planet. And I love that. I love that comparison. It's so true. When you look at people, you go, what are they doing, and how did they wind up together, and what's that all about? It's when you act like an alien visiting the planet, like you said, everything
Uh,
can look so like, what's that all about? And it's just
yeah.
a great analogy. I love the analogy.
Yes. So I am like so curious about this because for me so the way I see things nowadays is that I know that when people are disconnected, they are capable of doing the craziest things. And I no longer, like you said this, I think, a number of times, I no longer judge them for it because it's completely congruent. There's nothing wrong. When you are disconnected from source, you are capable of doing just about anything is possible because you can't because we don't have a filter, and if we don't have a filter, we'll just do whatever, and it doesn't even have to make any sense.
Right.
When a kid goes into a movie theater and shoots a dozen people, when I hear that or I see that on television, and I don't watch much television, but somehow that kind of news gets to me, I don't need to know why.
Mm,
Because I already know why.
yeah. Well, I come from Newtown, Connecticut, and I didn't really think we'd be talking about this tonight, but there were 26 children with a person that obviously there were 28 people who passed with that episode. And they're always referred to as 26 lives lost. And I say, no, there's 28 lives lost. And they said, well, how can you include, the perpetrator and the parent? And I'm like, because no mom deserves that. And that young man obviously was disconnected. And to do such a, just a horrible thing. And I think people who are so disconnected like that, it's just, I just, my heart goes out because they're just so lost and so disconnected. And what a terrible space to be in that darkness and not come from the highest light in that. And it's just something. And I go to churches, and there was a moment of silence, and at the church they said we're going to take a moment of silence for the 26 people in Newtown who passed. And I'm like, wait a minute, there's 28 people in Newtown who passed, there wasn't 26. And it's like, what about those other lives that somehow got lost through that disconnection? So disconnected people like that, they're falling through the cracks, and it's very disturbing.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this question. I'm just curious how you would respond. So let's say 156 people boards on this plane, and the plane takes off, and 2 hours later, the plane crashes, and all 156 people are dead. Is How do you explain when somebody asks the question, were they all destined for that to occur? Did they bring it onto themselves by all of them maybe being afraid of flying, and there was so much group fear that they manifested that and they crashed the plane? How do you even begin to talk about this? I mean, commercial media doesn't talk about this. They just talk about, that the plane crashed, this many people have died, and they're just showing it and wallow in all of that negativity. But I'm curious, what's happening with the levels of energies, the frequencies that these people have carried when they got onto the plane? Would you be willing to talk about that a little bit?
Well, they say we do not know our exit points, that none of us know when we're going to be leaving the planet. And then it's also said that when you leave the planet, you're going to a much better place anyway. So it's like, what's the big deal? And yet, as human beings, we want our loved ones to never leave our side, because in a passing, we miss them, and we want their physical presence. But I think it's the energetic presence that still, goes on and on and on. And we don't know for what reasons people have left and what it's teaching us, and, it does serve a purpose in many ways, as far as, through tragedies, wonderful things have evolved with people in their lives, with others. I mean, you hear a tragedy, and all of a sudden something amazing manifests from that tragedy, and you go, wow, did it take that tragedy for that to manifest? And sometimes it does. And, to me, people are exiting and are returning home to heaven, which to me is right here, not far away. It's just like another dimension we step into. So it's not a bad place to go. So I think, everybody wants everyone to be around as long as they can be around, but it's like a ticking clock. None of us know today, leaving here tonight, could be our last minute talking here on the planet. We don't know.
Yeah, sure, but my curiosity is about, Cindy, how does 156 people do the same thing in time and space and exit at the same time? How is that created?
Yeah.
And maybe I'm asking a question that we cannot answer. I don't know, or maybe we would be just guessing. But to me, it's very interesting how that occurs.
Right. Whether it's, some people say sometimes with any of these things that people were destined, and they all agreed, there was a soul agreement, and they came together, and that's why they all left, and they all, chose to depart at the same time. Could be, could not be. I don't know.
And you hear stories, Cindy, that somebody was late and wasn't able to get on that plane.
Right, and I think those stories and I've met people like that. It was not their time to go. I sometimes look at death, to me, as, well, I don't even like to use the word death. It's like we're in the deli, and they say, number 55, it's your turn. And it's like, here I am. And so I think sometimes, we do have these exit points, and we don't know when they're going to be and who we're going to be exiting with. And, I had a friend who married her soulmate, the love of her life, and she couldn't be happier. And within 1 year, her husband had passed. And her answer was, of all the women on the planet that he could have chosen to exit with, he chose me, and I'm so honored. So, our passing and exiting through death is just a mystery. And to me, what's really important is, does life cease to exist at death, or do we go on? And when I had that visitation with my father's passing, I knew life went on. And that, to me, is what I'm really concerned about, because I'm going to spend a lot more time on the other than I am here on this side.
Interesting. So what would you like your legacy to be, Cindy?
Oh, my legacy. I've never really thought about what I would like my legacy to be. I would like that I've helped make a difference, and that really just that I can help make a difference and be the best that I can be. I haven't really looked for a living legacy or anything like that where like I've been so driven. Um, I'd like to have a lot more fun while I'm here, and I really haven't focused on a legacy.
Hmm. Well, I also wanted to just touch a little bit on, because we talked about death, but this whole funeral thing, I want to talk about it a little bit, because, and I know that there's a lot of traditional things, but I'm now seriously considering putting it into my will. I have 3 kids. What I want them to do when I pass on, and some of the things that I'm making notes and writing this down. So one of the things I'm requesting is that no one can wear black.
Oh.
Anybody can come in any other color other than black, and my preference is white, but it's not mandatory. Um, they can show up in any color other than black. And my other request is I want them to have a smile on. I prefer and I request that they don't cry on my funeral, that they actually laugh and celebrate the memories that they have with me and themselves, and that they have a party and they play all my favorite music. And that's
Now,
how I would like to be remembered.
now, may I ask you something? Do you plan on like doing a video?
Meaning what? Meaning.
Like a video of you, like just talking to your children and having them listen to it and
Oh yeah,
speaking to
yeah.
it.
I wasn't planning it that way, but now that you bring it up, that since I love videos, yeah,
Yes,
that would be great. Yeah, yeah,
that's what that's
I would be happy to do
yeah,
that. That would be great.
that's
Yeah,
what I sense for
these are
you.
my last wishes.
Yeah, I sense for you that a video would be great just to have them have your
um,
living presence. It's interesting about black too because black is a color for new beginnings. It's like a black slate, like wiping the slate clean. So sometimes we go, oh, black is so dismal, but black can also mean new beginnings, which is really interesting. And I went to a funeral of my friends, and I heard Spirit say you need to wear red. And I'm like, what? We're red? Yep, we're red to that funeral. So when I went to my friend Maria's, and I was the only lady in red in the funeral, and she walked up to me and she was beaming, and I said, hi Maria, how you doing? And she said, I'm great. She goes, why are you wearing red? I said, because I was told to. I heard Spirit, say to wear red. She goes, that was Armando's favorite color. I know Armando's still present. And she was elated. So color is always good. And I think with people's emotions, let them feel whatever they want to feel at your passing. They need a good cry, let them have a good cry, but not to stay stuck in that space. To be able to heal and move on from that.
and I'm also seeing, that I may make another video that I take the best pieces out of all the shows that I produced, and have them play that at my service, including some of the bloopers that I made and some of the mistakes that I made.
I think more of the bloopers than anything else because humor is so healing. So at the time of a passing, when people do feel sad, laughter heals so many things. So I think the blooper video would be amazing.
Yeah, I already have one, but
Ah,
I'm sure I can find some more to add to it. So yeah,
yeah.
that's pretty interesting. All right, so um, I want to make sure that we talk about. Is there anything else that you want to let the viewers know in terms of what else you're doing, what else you're up to, like what is coming up for Cindy in the next 5 to 10 years? What are you creating?
Well, I'm really letting it be shown to me, and I don't want to make it happen. I want to just let it happen and see what my energy pulls into my pathway. I would like to do some more traveling and, go around with this message that I'm offering in the book and just see, take it a day at a time and like to spend time going to the ocean and, just enjoying each and every day that I have here, but also offering, some wisdom and insight that I can give to people along the way to be helpful to them on their journey so that they can have the best possible journey that they can have while they're here. But it's up to them to do it. It's not up to me to fix it or, just really just, be there. But
Yeah.
no big projects. I'm letting them come to me. I happen to love doing radio. I happen to love doing TV. I happen to love doing, I just so much enjoy sitting down with an audience and a group of people. So we'll see. We'll see what's presented.
Awesome. All right, so this would be probably a good time for you to also mention your website again and anything else that's coming up, like if you're doing any seminars or any book signings or anything like that. This would be a good one to share with the viewers.
Oh, great. My website, again, for the book is called Is That All There Is? TheJourneyWithin.com. It's the exact same name as the book title, so you can go there and get information. I do have some book signings coming. I would love to come to Colorado or another area. So if somebody would like to say, Cindy, come on over, I would love to travel and bring the book.
We have some pretty famous bookstores there. Did you know that we have some pretty famous bookstores here in Denver?
No, I didn't. I just know John Denver and Colorado and the Rocky Mountains.
We have the Tattered Cover bookstore. It's very famous. We have several of them in Denver, and we have one in Boulder as well. So you would get probably quite a few people listen to you about your book if you could come.
Oh, nice. I would really love to do something like that, and I'll see what happens with that. So the projects that I have coming up are just evolving, and I don't want to make it happen. I like to let it happen, and I say, oh, why am I meeting that person? And we'll see how the connection goes, and how it will further unfold. I'd like to do a little bit more, like live audience, like we're doing tonight. I love doing this. I love call-ins. I love when people get to call into a show, and we'll just see what happens.
Awesome. So if you could right now say something to all 7 billion people, that let's pretend that they are all listening and watching.
They are.
What would be the single most important thing that you could get connected with right now that you would want to share? I'm not looking for motivational speaking. I'm looking for what could move them and inspire them to take that next step.
Well, I would say to never give up hope, and there's always like look to the light, like look to light, and try not need to stay positive, but maybe to see it's not as bad as it seems in the bigger picture, and not to feel that they are alone, that there is always someone there for them, that they're never alone. And I feel, we come in with angels, we leave with angels, we have spirit, and to really tap into source in that kind of a thing is just to not feel alone, and hope and faith. To me, that's big things to have in life. Without it, I feel it's just a different life for yourself.
Awesome. And I'm also curious, how do you feel about the younger generation? There seems to be, I don't know, I don't even know myself how I feel about the younger generation. I mean, I love them, but I'm also noticing that, they're just doing all kinds of crazy stuff. How can we help the young people, the people in their 20s, 30s?
I think by being better mentors to them. I think by listening. I think by showing them that we care, by spending more time with people. When the tragedy happened down in Newtown, and I went down to Sandy Hook, and I worked there for like 3 weeks, and I sat down with some young kids and just said, hey, how you doing? You okay? And kids were weeping and shattered, and they're like, thanks for talking to me. Thanks for listening. Thanks for caring. I'm like, if you ever want to come over for a bonfire or something, this is where I live. And they're like, really? You would really let us do that? I go, sure. And they were so appreciative of just being listened to. And I think we're not listening enough. And I think young people, they're our future generation, and they're going to be here on the planet next. So I think it's really by listening and mentoring and spending time with them.
Do you feel the way I feel, that listening is really an art form? It's and anybody can learn it, but it certainly is not by doing all the talking. I come across so many people that can't just shut up. They just have to continuously speak and speak and speak, and nobody gets in a word edgewise. How can you even connect to someone if all you're doing is overpowering them just by you talking?
Yeah, I love that. Well, someone once said to me, Steve, that God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth to do twice the listening and less talking. And I think it's so true. There is an art and a skill and a gift to being a good listener. And I think it's so true what you just said. How can you make a good connection because you're just being so overpowering? I love that, and I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah, so hopefully, the way I do it, and I'm sure I demonstrated it here on the show many times, is I even lean over, because I want to be, I'm getting myself out of it. In order for me to understand you and to feel you, I have to be over there, not over here. Mm-hmm. And so, I just learned how to quiet down the conversation in my head so I have clarity. I'm not distracted by thoughts of what to say next, what to do next, what am I going to do after the show. None of that is there. I'm not saying that this is always the way it's been, because I had to go through my own journey and my own growth to quiet my mind. But I can do that now, and I can be present, like with you, Cindy, and demonstrate to the public that if I can do it, anybody can do it. You can be in the present moment. You can be connected to someone like the way I'm connected to you, Cindy, and then an entire hour of a dialogue and a conversation seems to occur in 5 minutes because the conscious hour is actually over. And does it feel to you that time, we were in the same space for 5 minutes, but the time, thinking of time didn't enter into my mind. Did it enter in yours?
No, and I love that, and I think that is such a gift of, closing down that chatter and being fully present. I really like that. And it feels like 5 minutes.
Yeah. So numerous times when you were talking, I was so connected to you that and I keep saying this on shows, but I was able to hear things you were not saying. Does that make sense?
Total sense.
And I was able to feel things, and so I could relate to you so much more and so much better. So that's it for this evening. Cindy, you were absolutely fantastic. Thank you for doing what you do in the world, and we can absolutely use more inspirational authors and intuitive poets. and thank you for changing the world one human being at a time. And I wish you the very best. And thank you for being on our network and making a difference in what we do here. So for everybody else out there, make sure that if you were touched, moved, and inspired, you keep coming back to consciousevolutionmedia.com and keep getting engaged with our shows. Go to YouTube. The more you watch these shows, the more they get up to the top 10 list every month, and the more the possibility of having them go to public television, which is over 100 million eyeballs. So thank you so much, Cindy. See you guys next week.
Thank you, Steve.
Have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you.